So many twists and turns in this project, which makes it so fun for the audience to watch. Do you remember what you felt when you first read this script, and what was it about this character that you connected with?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, I was just so impressed with the script. It was it's not always that you read a script and immediately you're just so drawn to it and like you feel like an audience member and like you're wondering what is going to happen. And the characters are just written so dynamically and they're all very they all have like two sides to them,
Mhm.
and like as an actor, I feel like that's kind of the dream to be able to play something that's so multidimensional. And these characters start out one way, and throughout the course of the movie, they kind of reveal another side of themselves. And so the script I read it back to back twice in a row that same night because I was just could not believe that this script had landed in front of me and that Eli was interested. And so I ended up auditioning for it and I got the part and I'm so happy about it because I think it's a really cool project that is just different from anything I've ever really done.
You've played so many dynamic and powerful female characters throughout your career. Who were the women in your life who shaped the artist that you are today?
Oh wow. Yeah, I've been really lucky in having women in my life that are willing to like be mentors to me, and honestly, it's so hard. It's not really just one person. It's so many people like growing up seeing um my mom and the things that she's overcome and you when you reach that age and you see your parents as human beings rather than just like these like your idols, like these superheroes, seeing them as real people. Honestly, that really deepened the relationship I have with my mom and the understanding I have of what it's like to be a mother, a wife, a woman. And I have three sisters, and they're all very unique and passionate and special. My best friend Gia, who's also my roommate, I mean, from an acting perspective, she's taught me so much. She's also an actress, but as a person. And then there are people like Michelle Yeoh or Sandra Oh, and that just really, I mean, they paved the way for me to even be where I am right now and
Mhm.
for representation for Asian women to be at the place that it is right now. Although we have ways to go, I don't think we would be here without them. And so yeah, I mean, and also working with Winona, I was so intimidated. I mean, she's an icon. I'm obsessed with her. But then to walk on the set and have her be so loving and supportive and kind to me was so helpful.
Answer. And without giving any spoilers, your character has a line in the film where she talks about what people are willing to do to get what they want. And that's especially true for Greta. As an actor, your job is to bring this character to life. How were you able to approach her without judgment?
So it's funny because a lot of what Greta does and a lot of how she chooses to behave is not necessarily something I agree with, but I have to empathize with her. I have to understand her and I can't judge her.
Yeah.
And so although I don't necessarily think she's like a straight up psychopath, I think she has psychopathic tendencies and narcissistic tendencies. And so Eli and I kind of both found common ground on that fact early on in my process of creating Greta. And I ended up listening to a lot of like psychology podcasts about psychopaths, how to identify them, what makes them, become that way and theories on that. And I, yeah, I learned a lot. And I at times kind of felt like, oh my God, what's happening? Am I a psychopath? But I think what happened was understanding like the science, the behaviors, the facts that go into why someone might behave that way actually helped me justify her behaviors in a way that I had empathy for her and I wasn't making like a caricature of a person. It was just a real person who happens to do some things that are not so great.
Like you were saying earlier, this role is a departure from what we've seen you do in the past. Is there a
Mhm.
particular scene that you're really excited for your fans to see?
I have to say, I don't think there's a particular scene. What's so great about this is that every scene is a piece of a puzzle, which is
Mm,
this whole film, and it's non-linear. So we're going back to the past and present, and all in a different order. And so I feel like everything needs to be paid attention to, because that way you get like the most satisfying outcome in the end, because you can go back and be like, oh, that's why that happened. That's why she did that. That's why she said that. And so I think looking at it like that is probably the best way. But I mean, I had so much fun filming any scene that I had with Owen. Like he and I just like, we really in the beginning gave each other permission. We were like, look, I got your back, you got my back. You want to try something weird? Go for it. I'm not going to judge you. I'm going to support you, and I'll tell you if it sucked. And so we had that trust, and especially with Eli Horowitz, the director. So I just had a lot
yeah.
of fun.
Perfect segue to this next question. But you've throughout your career, you've said it's about the people that you get to work with that attract you to a project. And this is Eli's feature film debut. What was it like getting to collaborate with him as you brought this story and character to life?
Yeah, he's such a prolific, talented writer. I was a huge fan of Homecoming, the podcast first, and then the show, before I even heard about this project. And so I was so excited at the opportunity to work with him, and getting to work with him in this process. He's very insightful. He's also um, very detail oriented, but with that being said, he's so collaborative, and he wants everyone to kind of be able to have a say, and for this to feel like an experience that we're all taking part in. He's not just the leader, and I mean, it was great because there were some things that I would read and be like, I don't understand why she's doing this. And he'd be like, okay, well, he wouldn't never tell me why she did it. We would talk through it until I understood,
Mm,
because also as a woman myself, portraying a woman, like, there were certain perspectives that I had that maybe he didn't consider. And so he's very, I don't know, he was so great to work with. I had such a lovely time.
One of the exercises that Eli had you and Owen do was kind of create a tattoo, a shared tattoo. What did you guys settle on, and what was the backstory that you created regarding that?
Oh my God. Thank you for reminding me that. I completely forgot. Yeah. Okay. So Owen's a very talented artist, and so he would draw a lot of the tattoos that ended up going on his body, and they're
Oh,
all
cool.
very specific and cool. But there was one that we wanted to have a shared tattoo, and what's funny? I can't remember what the tattoo is, but basically Owen and I had to agree on the meaning of the tattoo, and no one
Mm,
else knew the meaning except
yeah.
for him and I. And what's funny is I can't remember the meaning. So basically, only one person in the world knows what the meaning is, and that's Owen.
We're
I
chatting
don't
with
even remember
Owen.
what the tattoo was. I think the tattoo might have been a date. Oh, okay. I know what it is. We were watching a lot of like punk documentaries and films, and listening to a lot of noise music, because that's kind of the social culture that Greta and Al come from.
Mhm.
And we were watching Sid and Nancy, and I think we got the years that they both passed away.
Mm.
And I don't remember if I think he had Nancy's date and I had Sid's. Something along the lines of that. Something's crazy, weird, whatever.
We're chatting with Owen on Wednesday, so we'll confirm.
Yeah, can you please? I would
Yeah.
love to know the truth, because maybe I just made that up. I don't know.
Yeah.
So long
And
ago.
in the same vein of collaboration, this is such a star-studded cast. How did working alongside everybody help elevate the performances that we see on screen?
Oh, absolutely. It definitely did, because you're working with the likes of, Winona Ryder, Dermot Mulroney, John Gallagher Jr., and Owen, all of whom before this project, I didn't know them personally, but I was huge fans of their work, and Eli as well. And so um, it just, there's like this innate feeling of like, wanting to meet everyone's level, and like to do the project justice, the story justice, and also do their time and effort, each actor. Like, you know, you want to be as present in the scene as possible, as collaborative and as creative. And so you have to create like this very like comfortable, safe space for all of us to play.
Mhm.
Um, but it was cool because, like, you know, there are a few scenes I have with just Winona, and I wish never in a million years I thought that would happen. And I was always like, Brianne, you better be on your game. You are acting across from Winona Ryder. And luckily, she was so supportive and just comforted me. And I had a really lovely time with her.
This film is such an examination on the human psyche told through thriller and horror. Why do you think these genres lend themselves to this type of storytelling?
Yeah, I've always been a fan of horror and thriller because of the 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 storytelling is so much more dynamic, and you have the opportunity to use things like thrill and horror in order to emphasize the story, you know, especially when there are things like talking about mortality, you know, that can act, that are very, very fear inducing for most people. And so then to take something that we're already afraid of and then add another element on top of it that just makes it feel surreal and otherworldly while still creating characters that feel human and grounded. I don't know, it's a great way to create an escape and kind of like your worst nightmare in a way on screen. And I think people, including myself included, I love that kind of thrill and adrenaline rush that I get when I watch stuff like that.
Beautifully said. And in a conversation that you had with your longtime friend Sydney Park, you talked about how even a year ago you couldn't name a person of color who led a horror film. And with projects like Gone in the Night, Unhuman, and I Know What You Did Last Summer, you're bringing much needed representation to the screen. What has it meant to you to know that you're part of a community of trailblazers who are paving the way for this next generation?
I mean, that's so sweet. I never really considered myself a trailblazer. I've been in this industry for so long that sometimes I forget to look outside of myself. You know, like I see each project I do as like a chance of growth, like a next milestone for me. And I see it just from my perspective. I guess sometimes I forget to see it from other people's perspectives. But I think whenever I get to see a woman of color playing a lead role in and with so much nuance and in a multi-dimensional way, and it's so satisfying. It's so beautiful, and it's so empowering as a woman of color, whether or not you want to be on the screen watching it. Like the art that we make should be reflecting the world as it is, and in the past it hadn't done that, and I think we're headed in the right direction. But the idea that I could even possibly be a small part in that battle, that journey that we're on collectively as a community, like that is so nice.
You definitely are. This film had its premiere at South by Southwest. What was that experience like for you, just given the fact that like we couldn't do any in-person events for the past 2, 3
Yeah.
years?
I mean, it was absolutely a dream and so satisfying. It was the first project in the past 2 years that I'd been able to see with a full theater. We were at the Zach Theater too, so
Yeah.
it was one of the biggest venues at South by, and it was packed. And you can hear people responding, laughing, gasping. You know, there's so many reactions that you could hear that I hadn't experienced in so long watching a project that I'm in, especially one like this that I care so much about. And I think a live audience really lends to the whole experience of it because everyone's kind of on the edge of their seat, like what's gonna happen, what's gonna happen. And then the reception of it was just so amazing. Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy that we got the opportunity to do that in person with people, especially after so many years of not being able to have that luxury.
Two more questions for you. Outside of this project, what's next for you?
Um, I just finished doing reshoots for Uglies, which is a Netflix film based off of a book of the same name. And I think that'll come out sometime early next year. I'm very excited for that. It's like a young adult dystopian universe. Um, it's interesting because although that book was written 15 years ago, it is more relevant now than ever, I think. And we've really found ways to make it contemporary and also futuristic, but I think a very broad audience will be able to relate to it. And then High School, which is Tegan and Sarah's show based off a book by the same name, their memoir. That takes place in the 90s. We shot it in Calgary earlier this year, and that was so fun. It's um, one of the first things in a while that I've done that's like not in the horror thriller genre. And it feels like a departure from what I've done. And in a good way, it was refreshing and it's so beautiful. And Clea Duvall is amazing and she's at the helm of it. So I think it'll be really good.
And then final question for you. You've brought so many dynamic characters to life on this screen and with so much nuance. As you look ahead to the next 5, 10 years, is there a dream role that you would love to bring to life?
Oh, so many. I mean, I love comedy as well. I love comedy, drama, dark comedy. I would really love to do like kind of like a buddy comedy, like a stoner comedy maybe. Um, I'd also love to dip my toe into some like true crime. I love true crime. And so
Yeah.
like I just finished watching Under the Banner of Heaven and I've seen like Sharp Objects, I watch all of them. And so to do something like that would be really cool. And I don't know, it's just people and characters. That's what always gets me. And it always surprises me where I end up and how, even though I didn't expect it to happen or necessarily want that, it always proves to be so eye-opening and special for me.